Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm really excited to be back with Pendo talking about how to build a personalized in app communication strategy. Um, this was one of the talks that was brought to you by Pendo at Pendemonium. And like I said, I'm really excited to come back and talk about this. And I'm really thankful and appreciative that everybody out there who saw my first talk at Pendemonium thought it was so valuable that it's now one of the top product-led talks of 2022. So thank you to everybody for your support. And let's dive in. So before we get into the agenda and really talk about the meat of this presentation, just a little bit of background about myself. My name is Mary Ward. I am a senior digital product manager at iRobot, focusing on personalization and engagement and growth and messaging and all of the really cool things that we're going to talk about today. I've been a product manager for around 7 years. I've worked in different industries and domains, and I can easily say that this company and this niche that I'm in is my favorite position so far. I'm really excited to bring personalization to the table and give everybody here a strategy on how to make it a priority. So just a little bit about the agenda of the presentation. We're really going to go over why personalization. Why is it important from a customer standpoint and a business standpoint? How do you build a strategy based on personalization, right? How do you bring it to the table? How do you find value in it? How do you make it a strategy? And then how do you execute that in Pendo? What are some ways that iRobot has done that? And what are some lessons that we've learned by building this strategy, by improving on the opportunities that we've seen by going through this process? And how can you bring personalization to the table for your organization and your company? So let's kick off into it, right? Let's talk about personalization. What does that mean to the customer? Why is it so important? And why are organizations taking steps to really make this a primary capability? And as we've seen with 2020 and the rise of COVID and online shopping and the whole dynamic shift towards one size does not fit all anymore, personalization has really become a core user's expectation, whether that's in web or in shopping or any company or any experience that customers or users have. They expect it to build a relationship with them. They expect it to be personal and interconnected. And I think we've seen over the past 2.5 to 3 years how critical relationships are. And we're bringing that into mainstream experiences, right? So this is no longer just a marketing strategy. Personalization is paramount to the success of companies. And that's why we're seeing companies take these strides in order to build these personalized capabilities because they see the value. And what's really cool about iRobot is, we've had 30 years of incredible innovation, right? And that's been pivotal in us learning and listening and being able to implement a strategy that meets customers' expectations. And it's also been a playing field for us to fail and realize what works and what doesn't work. What are the tools and techniques that we can use for the space that we're in to really build a personalized experience for our customers? So when we break down personalization a little bit, there are these two buckets in my head that kind of stand out. And one of them is empathy. As product managers, they ask what is, the number one skill that separates you from the crowd. And it's really how to understand and be empathetic with the people that you're solving the problem for, right? And so, the consumers and users at this level expect brands that they associate with to know them at this kind of level. They expect this personal, intimate, empathetic relationship with the company and the product that they're having. And they benefit from this by only engaging with the communication and the content based off of their behavior and their preferences and the things that they like. And in order to even create experiences like this, data is at the foundation of making, personalization so compatible with your user base. We can see a lot of companies investing in data science and data analytics and building data models that get better over time, that understand patterns, that use machine learning, right? To be able to bring the most seamless experience to the forefront. And if we pair empathy and data, that's really our powerhouse when it comes to personalization. So as iRobot was thinking through these things in the last, year and a half to 2 years, we recognized some improvements in the personalization space, especially when it came to communicating with our customers just in general, right? And so from the user perspective, right? We want our customers and our users to be engaged with the content that they get. We realize that if something wasn't personalized, the conversion rate was going to be really low and user satisfaction was going to be low. We also realized that product utilization was going to be low. If people don't value the purchase and the association with their brand, and they don't value that personalization as a whole, they're not going to use their product. And so as a result, really building in that personalization to beef up that value, to increase missions, increase jobs, just increase any type of product utilization, to get our customers to understand that there is value in what you have for the long haul. If we're looking at the business side of things, we're talking about efficiency. In order to build anything personalized, from a message, or a feature, it involved a lot of roles, a lot of time, and it consumed valuable engineering resources that could be used to, fix tech debt or build foundational capabilities for things we wanted in the future, right? So we recognize that we were spending a lot of time and money and not being efficient. The last thing we see here is, how do we iterate on improvements? It wasn't easy for product managers, including myself, to figure out where users dropped off in the funnel, what was working and what was not working, and how do we get better from there and build a plan for success? How do we pivot our strategy in order to hit our goals, right? And make sure that the top two things that we see here are headed in the right direction. And so taking a look at all of that, using empathy and data, and really looking at some of the opportunities that iRobot had, how do we take that and how did we actually build a personalized strategy? We're going to talk about it. So let's break this down. On the left-hand side, you can see a triangle. And for those who have understood the hierarchy of needs, I compare that very similarly to personalization. There is a hierarchy here. And we'll talk about the tools and techniques on each one of these pieces of the triangle. But first, we have to establish core actions. What are the core things in a user's journey that we know are critical to success? And how do we lay those out using a user journey mapping technique? The next piece of this triangle is, how do we make those actions patterns? How do we keep people on track for success, repeating and doing the things that we know are going to continue to add value and continue to make them successful? And that's when we establish milestones against their journey. And at the top of this pyramid is really the fun part, right? But it's where that personalization comes in. And how do we personalize these patterns, right? We're using data to make things appear at a certain time, in a certain way, in a certain context, that really hit things at the right time, at the right moment. And that's what is key in personalization. So how do we build a map, establish milestones against that map, and then how do we build a personalized strategy to make sure that we bring people back to success, to the happy path, and make sure that no matter where you are in your journey, you are successful. And we know that we have a better chance of doing that when it hits the right time in the right place. So let's break this down one by one and talk about some of the tools and techniques that can help us do some of those things that we saw on the last slide. So user journey mapping. For all of my product managers out there, I hope that this is not a surprise to you, that this is one of the core things that we do here to establish depth about our users. We map out the entire customer's journey, and it's really about gathering that empathy and that understanding from every interaction point that a user could have. We develop personas, we define goals, we consider happy paths, and we lay out the unhappy paths, right? And we emphasize the user pain points within this entire journey. And what this is going to do is really set the foundation and the groundwork for us to be able to establish milestones. And a part of our job as product managers is to ask the right questions. And so, along our user journey map, what are some of the questions that we need to be asking in order to establish these milestones? And there are some questions that I've listed here out on this slide. What are the core experiences or milestones in the journey that you just built that are critical to success in achieving the user's goals? What are the user's goals of using your product? And how do we keep them on track for success? And how do we build those questions into our user journey map so that we know the times and places that we do need to personalize? And once we have mapped out our customer's journey, we've identified what makes them successful, what happens when they are off the unsuccessful path, how to bring them back, and also what are those key moments in time that we know we need that conversion? How do we use data to make that personal? And I know that there are a lot of different buckets of data that we can use to make something personal. Behavioral, demographic, channel, and just think about those things that could make a moment personal. There's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on your user's goal. It depends what you're trying to personalize and why you're trying to personalize it. And what's great about Pendo is that they have the metadata fields in order to build those personalized demographic data points, right? And they have track event capabilities so that you can really segment any kind of data that you would want to make a message personal. So now that we've kind of walked through that triangle, right? We want to establish a journey. We want to make sure the core milestones are identified. And then we want to personalize those milestones and make those patterns. Let's walk through a quick iRobot example on how we did this. So let's just take this use case into consideration. You're a product manager, you want to introduce a new feature, right? And your KPIs, excuse me, are time to adoption, your percent of users that convert when the feature is first introduced, right? In terms of engagement. And for this example, let's just assume, you've done your research, your personalization strategy, thinking back to our triangle is super sound. Your requirements have been written, that Jira ticket is checked off, and content, UI, copy, images, all of that's finalized, and you are ready to go. As you can see here over to the right, let's say we are introducing like the child pet lock feature. How would we introduce it? Who would we introduce it to, and why and when? And what's great about this is the segmentation piece. So if we think back to our triangle and our strategy, right? How would we target a new feature, using some of these data buckets? Let's just assume that a user's journey and them being successful is I'm a pet owner and I would like to use my brand new J7 combo to pick up pet hair. And because we know you have a pet, we introduced this new feature engagement on your second combo job. But there's a layer deeper to that. And so we know from a behavioral standpoint that it's your second job. You click into the robot settings, right? Something a little bit more personal than just showing up on the home screen. We also have to check your demographic. So there are only, let's just say, certain robots that would have this capability, right? Or maybe there are certain places in the world that you want to send this to. And then also, let's look at channel specific. Is this email? Is this an app? Where would some of this communication go? We know we want this to go contextually in the app. So how do we break this down in a more personalized way that would make sense for a pet owner to get this new child pet lock feature? And once we have built that message, right, that communication, we've segmented it out to the right people, we need to analyze and we need to iterate. And what's great about Pendo is they have structured pathways to understand if your users are following the right user journey. And you can see in here, where are users getting stuck in the funnel? How long are they getting stuck for? And at the end of the day, are you getting the conversions and the predicted behavior that you want? This is such a great tool and a great dashboard. It's a great set of things to be able to use for product managers to be able to come back to the table and say, my strategy is working. Here are some improvements I want to make to be able to hit the goals that I need to hit and make a really awesome customer experience for this particular feature. So let's do a quick recap of what we've talked about. We've talked about building a strategy, very high level. We reviewed some quick examples on the iRobot side and how we did this. And we've also talked about opportunities for improvement. And let's see how those shaped out with our strategy. Powerful results, and it's only the beginning. What's great about, what we've been able to do at iRobot is we've been able to build from the ground up. 2 years ago, we didn't have a personalization strategy. And we've been able along the way to fail, to learn, to grow, but also, have the bandwidth to identify opportunities and make sure that we're making steps of incremental improvement. And, we have some room to go. So, if everyone remembers, we reviewed a slide in the beginning of this presentation discussing some of the opportunities for improvement. And just by working with Pendo um, and really leaning into some of these things, we've been able to see progress already. And when we talked about some of the business and user opportunities, it hit both sides of the house. If we look at increasing engagement, a lot of what we do at iRobot, especially on the genius side or the digital side, is focusing on the intelligence and the genius features that we have for our portfolio. And so every time we release a feature, we really want to get users converted the minute that we do it because we're backing it with personalization. And as you can see here, we've been able to increase feature announcement engagement by 43%. And the next bullet here, in terms of product utilization, making sure that users see value in their product, they believe in personalization, and they know it's a key aspect of their purchase. We've been able to see just by feature announcement engagement and getting those things in the eyes of our users in the right moments, active usage go up around 2%, which is a really awesome statistic. We're really proud of that. When it comes to the business side of the house, and increasing efficiency, just by taking our engineers out and really leaving it in the hands of the product managers and designers, we've been able to cut out engineering effort by 75% so that they can focus their time and things on the features and capabilities that we need built for the future. And we've decreased our time to production, meaning the minute that we have our idea, we go through our process and it's out the door into production. And we've been able to decrease this time by 50%, meaning we're saving time and we're saving money. And with the power of Pendo Analytics and some of the things in structured pathways that you guys saw on 2 slides ago, it's really easy for me to go in as a product manager and say, okay, where are my users getting stuck? Where do customers need help? Where did my strategy or my plan did not work? So that I can bring this back to the table, gather feedback, iterate, and make an even better experience, make it even more personalized, or tweak things as needed to be able to get the conversion, get the engagement numbers that I want, and have a happy set of customers, right? That feel like iRobot is doing their part in making sure that you are special to us, and we want you to see that. So, what have we learned through this whole process? It's been an incredible 2 years, and I'm excited for the next two. We have a lot going on. We've been able to take these learnings and build on top of them. But there are some key takeaways that I would like to share with everybody that I've learned that I wish I knew in the beginning. Personalization takes time and dedication and continuous experimentation and investment. My entire role is focused on intelligence and personalization, and you need an entire team. You need data science, you need machine learning engineers. You need a team of people who are dedicated to the mission, who see the value, who are willing to explore and experiment with you. Data-driven insights are key in making good personalized content. In the beginning of this presentation, we talked about empathy and data, but data is going to be your absolute best friend when it comes to personalization. Building models and bringing those improvements and insights to the table is only going to make your strategy more sound and help you pivot in the right directions along the way. Something else that we learned is a good process is just as important as a good strategy. Moving quick is great, But there also has to be parameters and boundaries in place to make sure that the roles that still need to collaborate can collaborate in a time boxed way that follows guidelines that make sure that there's consistency in our approach. Content personalization is a critical piece of the personalization process. That isn't something that we talked about in this presentation, but another one of our insights and research that we found from doing personalization and making it a priority is that what you say matters. And having a tone of voice, having a consistent message throughout your app, throughout your product is just as critical as when and where that communication happens. And you need a great process in place to be able to handle, content strategy. And the last bullet here is investing and pivoting your strategy if you aren't seeing the expected results. Don't take failure as a bad thing. It took us, some time to really get this ramped up, get people to see the value in it, and be able to even get to the point where we could fail and pivot on our strategy. And that's a really exciting place to be. Like I said, there's a lot more room to grow. We're really excited to be able to take all the learnings that we have found so far, implement them, make our experiences better, and we're listening to our customers and our users and building that back into our feedback loop to make sure that you love us just as much as we love you. All right, guys, thank you so much for having me as one of the product-led talks, top-led product talks of 2022. I hope you find this valuable. I hope you bring personalization to the table at your organization, and I'm looking forward to seeing it all. So thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it.